Hello and welcome to this week's edition of DampSam reacts to some damp videos and renovation videos. This week I've got a treat for you. This video is over 14 years old and the title drew me in straight away because it says Renovation, Rising Damp, No Such Thing. So I saw it and I thought I'm gonna have to watch this. There's a if you click on the video, there's some paragraphs of what's been written. There's too much for me to write down, but they'll probably say it actually in the film itself. And I think it's been posted, but I think it's years older than when it was posted. So it was posted 14 years ago, but I think it's a video from like maybe another 10 years or 15 years before then, because it's Lewisham Council. They follow Lewisham Council around, and one of the things that it says on bit that I could write down, well, millions spent every year curing all problems that sorry, let me just start that again. My writing is fucking terrible. Millions spent every year curing a problem that doesn't exist. So it's about rising damp. But then there's a bit underneath it that it's like they've wrote a book. So it says rising damp is a very rare phenomenon. So rare that many serious construction, I can't even read that, professionals, I thought it said reasonables. That's my writing for you. I'm thick as fuck. Right, so that many serious construction professionals have never seen it. I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. And it is rare. It is rare. And more I say that, and what's my catchphrase? Not all damp is rising. And it's not. And majority of the time, nowadays, and it's only because we've built more buildings with DPCs actually in, and a lot of the older buildings have had retrofit ones. So there's less and less buildings that's been built without an actual DPC. So it is getting rarer and rarer. So let's get into it and let's see what they say, because one of the interesting things is it said further down, Lewisham Council offered a reward of £50 for anyone that could find and prove that there's rising damp in a property, and they raised it to £500 for anybody that could prove it. Now I'll have to speak to somebody from PCA and see whether they were aware of this challenge and whether anybody proved it, but I know that Graham Coleman has done a video and it's on YouTube. So if you search for Graham Coleman's video that says rising damp, myth, or what's the other, myth or something else, or real or myth or something like that. Very interesting, and he proves that there is rising damp, and he proves that rising damp's been spoke about since the early 1800s. And I think there's some from the 1700s in architects' journals and all these sort of professional literary publications that's been around for years and are still around now. So check that out and make your own mind up. But it is getting rarer and rarer. And I'll just tell you figures. This video, 14 years ago, it's had 42,000 views, which that's not many for 14 years. If you're going to have a video for that long, you want it to be doing a bit better than that. But hopefully they might get some more viewing figures, because people will probably check out this video once they've seen my comments on it. Well, you'd think hopefully that they would. And it's had 42,000 views. They've only got 200 and odd subscribers to the channel, and it's from a guy called, I've not wrote it down, something like Found Only. I have, yeah. So the guy that's published it, or the person that's published it, or the they that's published it, is Found Only. That's his title, her title, their title, its title, that's title. Folk knows. Right, let's get into it. Come on.
Britain, average rainfall 3 inches a month.
Oh, that's something I ain't done. Just bear with me a second. Right, we can go. Let's start again. Here we go.
Britain, average rainfall 3 inches a month. The average family gives off 12 litres of water every day. Our homes are under siege from damp. There's one man who spent years searching for a true case of rising damp.
In the last 9 years, I've not found a single case of rising damp.
9 years. Well, let's put it into context. This is a guy that's working in and around London, Lewisham Council. London got bombed to bits in 1940s, and a lot of buildings that's been built since then have all got DPCs in. And it'd be very rare that there'd be a building there that's not had some kind of DPC in. I wouldn't have thought. And it's not said what year it is. If anybody spots what year it is, just let me know.
In any of the properties that I've tested literally thousands of properties. I certainly have never found a true case of it.
Mike Perrett grew up in a damp council flat.
Mike Perrett, spell fucking parrot. I said that, I'll repeat it, parrot.
In South London. Now he works for Lewisham Council, fighting damp.
He's fighting damp. So, listen, what he needs is a superhero. Somebody who champions everything dry. Bit like myself. A superhero. Damp man. That's what he needs to be. Fighting damp on all fronts.
He was, well, one of us. So he knew what was like coming up and living in a council estate and how it was for people and as for tenants. So he had a first-hand knowledge of it all.
Mike himself used to...
I'll just cut in here because they're making out, they're building a picture up that he's from a council estate. A lot of council houses were built around about 1930s, even after the war, 1940s. Social housing, and I'd have thought that had been built with a DPC in. So a lot of their problems is not just going to be damp problems. Whether he's getting at that, I don't know, and whether it's from a time where. Oh, I'll tell you what's in comments as well. So what they're kind of pushing is that a lot of these surveyors or so-called surveyors that work for bigger companies. I'm not going to name. I don't want to be reliable, but you look at all your big companies that's advertising. They've got surveyors working for them, and they used to be, and I don't know whether it's still the case now. They used to be on a commission, and I think this is what they're getting at. That, and obviously Misdiagnosis. They used to be on a commission, and it were in their interests to add bits on because they got paid more for more work they found. And I think that's still the case for some companies. So there is a scope for them to be probably unscrupulous. And a lot of these other companies that don't know fuck all about damp, that's classing themselves as surveyors, are going out and saying that it is rising damp when it's fucking not. So I think this is where a lot of confusion is coming, and this is where our industry partly gets its bad name from. Shysters and guessers and people that's wanting to add a bit on, just because the person that they're dealing with don't know, and hence the reason why I put my son on here and I kind of tell everybody and point out what's wrong and what I think is right from my training. And a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people in my PCA association don't fucking like it. And what I'd say to them is, fuck you, because I'm doing it. You know what I mean? People need to know. People need to know these things. And I've heard firsthand that there's people that want the PCA to be a closed shop. Some of the older people that were in there. And I'm one of younger people, even though I'm in my fucking 50s. I'm one of the younger ones in PCA. And then they don't fucking like it that, you know, we're explaining how damp works so that people can, you know, educate themselves. I'm not saying for people to do it themselves. They don't understand that people still can't really do it themselves because they still need a specialist in, and they'll still go to their companies. There will still be people that goes and does it wrong, but they can't see that. They think that everything should be fucking a closed shop, and it's fucking and it's bollocks. But they don't like it. And these people in there that's trying to keep it that way because they want more work for themselves. And I just think it's fucking wrong. I think they should have more smaller contractors going in. They should make it more accessible to go in. And Steve Hodgson were doing that. It's a shame Steve's leaving at Christmas and all the good work that Steve's done. Let's see whether it can be carried on with James and the new woman that I don't know about. So she's not really been introduced to everybody, but let's hope that they can carry on moving forward and opening up the PCA for smaller companies, smaller contractors to be able to access and get qualifications and become surveyors and then grow the businesses. It's about getting in and then doing it, and this is what I've been kind of promoting people to be to get the qualifications and stuff. But there is people in there, and you fucking know who you are, and you don't want these other companies to come in. But do you know what I mean? It's where are we going to go backwards? Are we going to go forwards? So yeah, let's carry on with this. Hiya, it's DampSam here. I've just come on just to tell you that DampSam.com is now up and running. We've got the Express damp proofing system course, designed by me, run by me, done by me. You can buy that. We've got the ultimate guide to black mold and condensation. You can pay what you want for it. And we've also got 3 free ebooks. And also we've got a guide to basement conversions, the ultimate guide to damp proofing, and also the podcasting series. You can get in contact with them and the YouTube membership. Enjoy it, rest of your film.
Inject houses. He had to do something to sort out the damp.
You can imagine how cold and damp they were with maybe an open coal fire only in some properties. Had horrendous problem with damp inside properties.
Then Mike began toying with a radical theory. He put it to the test on the ground floors of the Beckenham Hill estate.
Mike believed it wasn't rising damp. He always...
That building, the Beckenham Hill estate, that building looks as though it's got a DPC in it. I mean, it's got UPVC windows in, and I'm just looking at brickwork. Brickwork looks like fairly, I don't know, 1950s or something like that. So it will have a DPC in it.
Believed there was a condensation problem because of bad windows and bad heating. But by putting heating into the properties and new windows with vents and fan kits, it's proved the point that there is no problems up there anymore.
She said up there. It's a rising damp, predominantly is, water from the ground, and it's on the ground floor. It ain't gonna rise that high.
Mike had stopped the damp without having to inject expensive damp-proof courses. The money he saved paid for other homes to have central heating. He began to wonder whether injections were ever needed. He's never done one since.
He spread the word, which has been proven time and time again in people's properties.
But Mike's a rare voice. Surveyors are constantly diagnosing rising damp, even in his own backyard, Lewisham. Today there are 8 such cases. Could they be his first encounter with rising damp?
It's been diagnosed as requiring chemical damp-proof course injection because the property has been diagnosed by an outside chartered building surveyor as suffering from rising damp.
So it's just, I'm just jumping there. A chartered building surveyor's diagnosis as rising damp. He's not a damp specialist. He's not been trained by PCA or BWB or whatever they called it back then. But it's a chartered surveyor that's doing it. So nowadays, because I can see with that BMW, it looks like it's 80s. But nowadays, there's a specific qualification that you can take to become a damp surveyor, and there's training that the PCA does. And if you're buying a property, they don't say get a chartered surveyor to do a damp survey. They say a competent, qualified damp specialist who's a member of the PCA. And this is what's coming along. So these banks more and more are saying that you've got to have a specialist that's got these qualifications and that's a member of the PCA. And this is why some of them don't want other companies coming in and it getting bigger, because they want to work for themselves.
Have you been to this property before?
No, this is the first time.
Careful on my word.
Mike's a sort of damp detective. He follows the clues to find out where the damp's coming from.
But that's what everybody should do. That's how we are taught. Follow the clues, as us. Follow the path. And Neil Marsden, that's his mantra. Mine's not all damp is rising. His is follow the clues. And you're told as a surveyor, we're trained. One of the first things they tell us is as you start your survey, as you're walking up to the property and you stand and you look at what's happening on outside, and then you do all your outside first and make your observations. You start at your chimney and you work down on the roof, gutters, brickwork, and we call it high ground levels, something like that, vents, stuff like that. And you look for possible causes to start with, all around property, and then you go inside and then you have a look for any damp issues, and then you look for patterns of damp. And then once you've found your patterns of damp, then you can go back out and try and see why that area is damp, there. So you go outside and you look at wall there, you look above and you look below, and this is how a damp survey is carried out. And then you'll use your moisture meters to take the readings and find out patterns of damp. You look at ventilation, and it is like being a detective. And then once you've collated all your information and taken photos, and some people will talk into a dictaphone. I just make notes. We've got a pad and I make notes. And then once you've got all your information and your readings as well, you take it back to your office and then you'll put your report together. You don't just throw it down, although some have got systems where they copy and paste. Now, we have got a standard template with some stuff that's already in there, which is kind of explaining about different types of damp and stuff like that. But the main body of the report is all our findings, and it's set out in a way that is taught by the PCA, and a way that's acceptable, and a way that that we know is going to be able to be easily read by a customer.
It only needs an injection if the damp's rising up from the soil, through the brick, and through the existing damp-proof course. Most surveyors rely on one piece of equipment to...
Well, he's just got that wrong. So he's saying it only needs an injection if it's coming up through the ground and then through. Not necessarily. So if it has got a damp-proof course in it and it's been bridged, so if they've put a concrete floor inside above the DPC, and then they've put a mastic asphalt screed over the top of that, which they used to do. They were a big scheme in 1930s and 40s houses. 20s, 30s and 40s houses where they put concrete floors in and plastic damp membranes has not been invented, so they just sat it on earth, and then they had to go around, because that concrete were getting damp, they had to go around and put a DPM on top, a retrofit one, and they went and put a mastic asphalt screed on a lot of them in their council houses, and that screed went above the DPC and allowed moisture to bridge over it, and you got bridging, which is, again, it's not rising damp, it's a low level type of damp, but you still need to put a DPC above the physical DPC that's been bridged.
To diagnose it, Mike thinks that's where the mistake begins.
Standard
meter
electrical moisture meter.
That is like the first ever meter that I had. So you can tell this is 80s. And yeah, let's have a look at it.
That most practitioners use, and I'll just put it into the skirting, and you can see we're already getting a very, very high reading here.
How does the reading work? What is it?
Here you can see that the red dot is showing that this wall is 100% saturated. But of course what we don't know at the moment is whether the dampness is purely on the surface or whether the dampness is deep into the brick wall. And that is fundamentally why this instrument can't be used solely on its own.
Clue number 1 then. Very high readings on the moisture meter. Trouble is, it's not just damp that sets it off. Anything that conducts electricity does.
Now this is quite incredible, because this is one of the classic problems that we find. This is actually a foil, and that foil will completely mislead the electrical moisture meter into believing that we have a 100% saturated wall, i.e. rising damp. And my guess is, it doesn't take any stretch of the imagination as to why the practitioner here has come to the conclusion that this is rising damp.
And that's a good point, but the reason why he's a practitioner, he's saying he's a practitioner, is not a damp specialist. And we're trained to have that in back of his heads, that it could be that. So if you're getting high readings, higher than 2 meters, then you need to look at why it's going to be like that. So then you go outside, you come back in, and then you're looking at, is it paper? Is it got foil on it? Is it black ash mortar, which is renowned for, because these are plastic walls, renowned for setting moisture meter off. So that, again, that's got stuff in it. So, but an experienced damp surveyor will pick these up. Inexperienced ones, not so much. So, and this is where you get in misdiagnosis. So it's not, I think there's a combination of things. So back then there were surveyors that were adding stuff on, and we know that, and that gave us a bad name. And now there's misdiagnosis as well. So there's surveyors that kind of are not experienced, have only been shown one way, have not been taught properly, and they're getting stuff wrong. And I get other people's reports sent to me all the time, and I read through it, and like I've banged on about loads of times, I get them sent from people around here that's doing my area, and I'll get them sent through, and I even get them sent through from Blackpool, as we watched that last video, and you can see that they're getting stuff wrong, and all it takes is for them to go and be trained. But there's people that's qualified, that's doing reports, that's wrong round here, and I get them sent through, and I just fucking shake my head. So and it's a problem that if we were in police, they'd drag them in, and they'd say, right, you've done this wrong, you arrested that man, you beat him to after death, not going to sack you though, we'll just retrain you. So this is what PCA should be doing. They should be getting these surveyors that are doing stuff wrong, and then retraining them. And maybe I mean, I'm signed up to continuous professional development, so I have to go to all these jargons, and a lot of these are. But they're not signed up to doing a top-up exam. That might be answer. Doing a top-up exam, say every 5 years. I don't know. I know the electricians have to do a different edition, so 16th, 17th, 18th edition, and they have to keep going. And I don't know if that's to do with building regs. I think it probably is. They have to keep going and learning new regs, and then taking an exam just to make sure they're on the ball. Maybe that's what we need at PCA, because there is a lot that's that I see in North, and I'm tipping it's going to be the same all around country. There is a lot that leave a lot to be desired when they've done a survey, and it's not that they haven't got any knowledge, it's just that they're missing little things. And when I read through, it's like, fucking hell, that's wrong, can't believe you're doing that, can't believe you're putting that. And I'll say they, because I'm not going to identify the gender. Hiya, DampSam here. Did you know, if you want to watch a full unedited version of this, if you become a Damp fan, $2.99, which is as much as an expensive cup of coffee up here, you can watch a full unedited version of this. Nah, let's get back watching this bit, eh? See you in a bit.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm convinced. I mean, before we came along here, this has been diagnosed as having rising damp, and now we know all it really needs is a bit of redecorating. So, no rising damp, no injection needed, no big bill. Ugh. Mike's council reckons he saves them £160,000 a year. He went on.
So that's black mould. So it's obviously it's humid inside that property.
To test the other 7 properties on his patch, diagnosed as needing injections.
So around Chimney West, obviously there's going to be sulphate salts.
Guess what? He found no rising damp there either. In this case, the clue couldn't have been more obvious. A concrete plinth. It's drawing the moisture up past the original slate damp-proof course and back into the wall.
So that's bridging. So it has got... So if this is the same property as the one down the road, he's just said that it has got a physical DPC and it's slate. So it's basically a bridging issue. It's a bridging issue that he's talking about. So if it has got a physical damp-proof course in, then there shouldn't be any rising damp, which is moisture from the ground containing soluble salts, nitrates and chlorides, going up through capillaries, because they shouldn't be able to get that pathway because it's blocked with slate. So the only way that it can get through or past the DPC is to go around it, and that's a bridging issue. Now, this plinth that they've got on, which a lot of properties used to put them on for some reason, and I don't know why, it might be a waterproof plinth. So they might have put like a waterproof render on using Seeker and some kinds of dense cements. So is it that, or is it the fact that the water vapor can't transfer through the fabric and it's creating a vapor check on the inside of that waterproof plinth? So this guy is like, he's saying that, you know, like a lot of these, that's, you know, lime kind of advocates and natural and historic and all that, which I'm all for. But he's hacking this dense render on, and it's pulling all face at brickwork off. So sometimes, you know, you just got to leave it and then sort the issues out inside by using a different system. So if it's humid, you know, get some ventilation in there, and there's going to be less moisture to condense in them areas.
In the jargon, it's bridging.
I mean, look, just look at how bad now this brickwork is. So it's absolutely pulling alt face off. And what they're going to have to do with them is probably cut them bricks out and turn them round if they're going to use the same bricks, or get a match, which might be expensive. He's just said, in the jargon, it's bridging. No, that's the term. It's not jargon. That is the fucking term.
Well, my.
I mean, if that's DPC as well, if that's the slate DPC, that is low anyway. That's low. It's not. It should be 150 mil from ground. I know it's been rendered over, but it would have been low because ground levels has been raised over time.
This plinth is bridging this damp-proof course pipe.
The cure? Certainly not an injection. Just remove the concrete. And to be safe, you could lower the path to stop rainwater splashing up the wall.
Just have a look at this, because I want...
Here's the surveyor who wants to inject it.
Right the way through into the
Mike wants to talk him out of it, but he might be too late.
To inject. That's rather a pity.
Well, no, actually, no, they haven't. No, what they've done is to take the plaster off. I don't think we've actually started.
They've actually started drilling.
Oh, right.
They've actually drilled right the way through the breeze blocks here.
Right, so this is, again, there's a fireplace there and it's breeze blocked up, and he's saying that they drilled through breeze block. It's behind breeze block, there's just a great hole. So, I mean, you wouldn't have needed to do that. You'd have just put, when the block fire up, they'd have just put a DPC on there, underneath.
Here, which aren't even in contact with the ground. So they're obviously just going to inject everything in their path. What I really don't want to happen in this property, there's absolutely no necessity. It just doesn't need chemically injecting. And certainly the breeze blocks don't need chemically injecting.
That's right. Well, no, not that arrangement, no.
But Mike can't convince the surveyor, even after showing him the plinth.
And this is it with chartered surveyors. They all think they fucking know everything, you know, especially valuers, value surveyors. They all think they know everything, right? And they're valuing stuff 25% lower than fucking market value, which is wrong. It's just fucking wrong. And I just don't understand it. Stick to what you fucking, what you're supposed to do, which are general surveys, not fucking specialist surveys.
Along that wall. And again, we follow the... I just don't think it does need it, but I just don't think it needs it at all. And I've tested probably, must be in excess of 1,000 properties now over 15 years, and I've never found the necessity yet to put a chemical damp-proof course in. Not one.
Not one?
Not one. And all those dwellings...
Some people are going to be very upset with you.
No, I don't think so. I mean, all those properties are occupied, and I've had nobody report to me that they're living in damp conditions.
Oh, that's it. We've finished. Hang on. Let me just make sure this is not playing. So it must be more than one part. So so that's it. Yeah, it's we're advertising Roger's channel here, Skill Builder. So that's it. Yeah. What can we take from that? It's an old film, and obviously practices have got better since then. I think at that time, PCA, the Property Care Association, weren't actually formed. It were two associations. One were for woodworking, and one were for something else, and they were different ones. Anyway, they joined together and became PCA, and a lot more. What the British standards have been fetched out, and BRE have done a lot more research, and now we've got these guides for installing damp-proof systems and treating different types of damp. And that's the main takeaway, that we know now that not all damp is rising, that there's different types of dampness, and we've got to identify these different types of dampness and use different systems for each different type of dampness. So if you've got somebody coming to your property and they say everything is rising damp. If you've got rising damp on your survey, on your report, on your survey, and it says it's rising damp, you need to question it. You need to question it and look whether it's actual rising damp or whether they're using it as a term for damp rising up a wall, even if it's low level damp. So if they've said everything's got to be hacked off 1.2 meters all the way around your property, alarm bells should be ringing, and you need to get not just a second opinion. You need to speak to somebody who's an expert, even though the person that's probably come and said that may be saying that, telling you that they're an expert. So you need to question it. You need to question everything. There's different types of damp. When I've not been to a property yet, and I think this is where what this guy's probably trying to say is, I've not been to a property yet where it's just been one type of damp all the way through, and it's been just rising damp. The damp that you normally get, you'll get sulfate salts around your chimney breast. You might get lateral dampness because it's been infilled with bricks. You might get there might be some leaky radiators, so you might have some dampness because it source of moisture from radiators. You might have a cellar. You might have some pooling water in its cellar. It might not be ventilated properly. Your bathroom might not be ventilated properly. Your kitchen might not be ventilated properly. Your house windows might not have trickle vents. There might not be enough air changers in your property per hour. And then you've got such things as different times a year. So different dampness affecting your property different times a year. So we're in the condensation season at the minute. Just getting into it. Although weather's still mild, but we've just come into condensation season. So when it gets colder, you get mold issues, condensation issues and things like that, which are attributed partly to do with weather, partly to do with your internal conditions, partly to do with your ventilation, and other things, your insulation as well. When you get in summer, you can get the same issues, because if the weather outside is humid, if it's hot and humid, then you can get issues with condensation forming and a lack of adequate ventilation. You can still get black mold in the summer. And then there's a host of other things. So you need a surveyor that is experienced, that is qualified and is competent. And I'm not saying that some of the surveyors that work for companies that's not got the qualifications aren't competent, because there'll be them that's seen a lot and has done a lot, but I just wonder why why ain't you been and got your qualifications? It just makes me wonder. If you're gonna be doing surveying, go and get your qualifications. Would you go to a doctor if you'd not passed his exams? Doing it in back street. Would you go and have an operation there? I'm thinking some fucking do, because they go and have treatments. Don't they have that they have the lips made bigger and the teeth done and stuff like that, and backstreet clinics, people that have been struck off and stuff like that. But majority of people won't. You know what I mean? If I'm going for a filling, I'm not going to go, up road to Joe Bloggs, who's bought some stuff off the internet and is going to do it in his bedroom, and he's injecting you. But listen, and I'm not saying that the people that's doing that, but common sense says you won't do it. So I hope you've enjoyed this film, and I hope we've given you a bit of knowledge, and I hope you like me ranting on about different things. And listen, I'm passionate about what I do. I'm passionate about my job and the preservation industry, and because we've got a shortage of qualified technicians, qualified surveyors, competent people, we need more people to come in, and this is why I think that the ordinary tradespeople that's actually done the job are better suited to become surveyors. So if you're fed up with your job, plastering, you know, absolutely going flat out, then look at getting into preservation on, you know, first step at ladder. You can go on DampSam.com. I've done a course telling you how to do express damp proofing system. That's your first step. It'll tell you how dampness affects walls, the easiest way, most cleanest way to solve any damp work, and it can be used for different types of plaster patching. Once you've done that and you get a feel for learning, then you can sort of go and say, well, I'm going to take technician's course. Once you've done technician's course, got a bit of experience, then you can go try and get your surveying qualifications. There's no stopping you going and doing that, or setting your own company up and then becoming a PCA member. This is what I'm wanting. I'm wanting more people in PCA, more people that are down to earth, more people that have done the work, not people that's just come in and as an independent, been to university and done something in building management. You want people that's actually been and done the work and used the tool, use the materials that they're going to be recommending, not people that haven't got a fucking clue what a bag of fucking waterproof slurry is like and a bag of finish. You know what I mean? You've got to know the difference between all the different systems and what materials go on the different systems, and you've got to know how they're installed and which systems are suitable for, you know, what materials. So that's us for another week, and I hope you've enjoyed it. That's DampSam signing off. Have a brilliant week. Bye now.